Head over to miniaturemarket.com where they have thousands of board games at discounted prices, and you can sign up for product alerts. Hello, my friends. It's the Game Boy Geek here. I'm here with Greg Dixon.
Thanks for having me again.
He's going to try to debunk my list. Today we're doing 70 to 61. And if you missed us last time, Greg came up with what he thought was going to be in my top 10. So if any of those happen to be sneaking their way into this list, he's going to let us know. We'll find out what's going to happen with that. I think he's got it pretty good.
I think these will all be at least in the top 20,
Yeah.
if not the majority of them in the top 10.
Now, a few days ago, I came up with my actual list for this, where I went through and actually explained the games and then told you why they're on the list. And this video is more about just seeing, A, what does Greg think about the game? Is he surprised it's on my list? And then we'll have some conversations about some of the interactions that we've had in the game, because a lot of times, it's very different from doing it all by yourself. So if you want to learn more about these games, that video is linked to this one in the description. Plus, I'll try to put a little pop-up up there right now so you can click there and go watch those. If you haven't watched that and you don't want to, you can play along with Greg and try to guess the games as I try to hint towards what they are. So without further ado, let's get started with 70 to 61. Okay, number 70. This is going to be a pretty easy one for you, I think.
Okay.
This is a game that really started a whole new genre of games. Maybe didn't start it, but made it epically popular.
Okay.
And it's the social deduction genre, and we actually played a game at BGG-Con with the designer of this at one point.
Oh, wow. Avalon.
Yes.
Yeah. I hadn't played this
Don Eskridge.
I hadn't played this in years, but I had a chance to play it again just recently. And
Yeah, like
it reminded me how much I liked it. Yeah.
It's amazing, right? I haven't played this probably in years.
Yeah,
Really?
But no, it had been years for me too, because like you said, it's sort of popularized the genre. And so there were a lot of imitators, some of which I think have done it a little bit better, personally.
Yeah.
There's at least one I'm thinking of that I know you're going to have higher up somewhere.
But everyone reuses the Merlin mechanism. That was huge with this.
Yeah.
The fact that somebody knows who the bad guys are.
Yep.
And if the good guys win and they can pick out who that person was, the bad guys
So
win.
they have to lead the group, but lead the group subtly because they don't want to be too obvious.
It was such a brilliant new thing.
And Insider uses it, like you said, a lot of other games.
Almost every social deduction game has a Merlin role.
Yeah. So you have to give it some sort of extra love. Even if you haven't played it in a while and you feel like other games have built off of it, you have to kind of give it some love for being like one of the original.
I like that this one's pretty streamlined. It's like, we're going on a mission,
very streamlined.
Fail or don't. Good guys have to tell the truth, bad guys can lie.
Yeah,
that's
and
the
it
whole
requires
game.
more people each time, which is good, but I don't like the fact that you can kind of find 3 or 4 people that you trust and then just rely on them over and over and over again. There's other ones like Secret Hitler, for instance, that the theme is somewhat controversial. I understand why some people don't play it because of that, but I like that aspect of that mechanic where they don't let you use the same people the next time.
But like you said, you're always using different people, and the person who's the leader changes. And if you don't want that to do, then you vote it down, right? So
but there's often so much pressure from the group, like just use the people last time, just use the people last time. And I like that Secret Hitler.
But you're always adding usually another person.
Yes, one maybe.
Like when you're I'm an engineer, so this is how I think. When you're an engineer and you're trying to find variables and trying to see what things affect things,
you're
like
troubleshooting.
When you're doing a design of experiments, a DOE, here we go, nerd talking, nerd alert! When you're doing a DOE, you're trying to find the variables that actually change things.
Sure.
So you find a baseline, and then you keep the baseline and you add one variable. And that's how you systematically find problems as an engineer.
It's troubleshooting.
And it's the same thing with this. But just because you only add one person, your baseline might have been faulty because someone was a bad guy was being good. Right. So you're supposed to be debunking my list. I'm debunking you right now. Since he's not doing it, I'm doing it to him.
No, I'm just trying to explain why I think this one for me has slipped a little bit. I don't think it's in my top social deduction games or in my top 100 at all, probably, because I think other people have taken it and built off of it and done things that are better. The games that force you to rely on people you have less information on. Mayday comes to mind. One Night Ultimate Werewolf comes to mind. There's so many fun twists that have been done to this game this style of game since that I think this one just doesn't get played like it used to as a result. But I give it all the respect for, like you said, really popularizing the genre. Obviously, werewolf games and Mafia and some of those games that you play when you were a kid and stuff existed, and this sort of packaged it in a way. But it did popularize it, you know.
Yeah.
So yeah, it's I have a lot of respect for it, and it's cool that there's all the different hidden, there's different
All
ways
sorts of
to
roles.
make, add new roles and make it more complex and do more and more with it.
Yep.
So it certainly doesn't feel dated when you pull it out.
No, that's good. So Avalon,
Cool.
number 70. Okay, number 69. This game was a Spiel des Jahres nominee. It did not win.
Okay.
I could be wrong. I should have checked this right before.
The last few years?
I want to say it lost to Dominion in 2009.
Oh, way back. Ooh, what was that?
This is a game that you taught me.
Really?
Yes. And it's been out of print forever. Came back in print recently and went back out of print.
Finca? I forgot Finca was up for the SDJ. It makes sense.
It should have. If it was any other year other than 2004 or 2009, it would have won.
Yeah. I mean, you're up against Dominion. I mean,
Right.
talk about Avalon
Yeah.
creating a new genre or popularizing a genre. Dominion
literally
literally created a whole new genre.
Literally.
And we're still coming out with games today. Hot games like Dune, Imperium, and things that are
Yeah.
still coming out that are deck builders. But yeah, Finca is so underrated.
This is like it's Spiel des Jahres, but would you still call it a light Euro? Or would you call it a medium Euro?
It's pretty light.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, I don't think it's a gateway game.
Yeah.
But as far as like spectrum of Euros
See,
go.
look how much heavier the Spiel des Jahres used to be.
Yeah, this versus just one.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
I mean, just to use an example of a
And
newer
pictures.
one. I haven't played pictures yet.
And Micro Macro Crime City. The last three have been
Those are
super light.
But a lot of them are really good. Like Macro is
Yeah.
super innovative, and so I understand why it gets the acclaim it does.
Yeah.
But it definitely does feel like
I was
it's
listening.
dropped
I was
off in
listening
recent
to my
years.
buddy Tom Vassell. You may have heard of him.
Yeah.
I was listening to his podcast
like a
the other
YouTube
day.
channel, I think.
And he was talking about this was the year that the Spiel des Jahres split. This was the year where the next year was the first year they had the Kenner Spiel.
Oh, okay.
And it was because the heavier games kept winning, and the jury was like, no. And so they ended
Yeah.
up being like,
because it was always supposed to be the family game of
Right.
the year.
Yeah.
I mean, it was like the thinking families game of the year.
Yeah.
It's not going to be Hungry
Yeah.
Hippo, of course, but
I actually played this last week.
Yeah.
2-player game.
it's great.
And it's probably best with 2. Because
Yeah.
you can plan a couple of turns ahead with
Yeah.
and this game uses, and I don't know why more games don't use the rondelle mechanism.
Oh, yeah.
When used right, it is one of the most clever, puzzly mechanisms, and there's not that many games that use it.
No, really. Like if someone says Rondell, I think of Finca, and then I go, what else? And I can sit.
Ooh,
and spin
for the
my-
Crown and Kingdom, that's another one we haven't played in a while.
Oh yeah, that one
That's
has a Rondell.
But that game's like purely 2-player. It doesn't work well with more than 2.
Yeah,
But
this one's good at all player counts, but I agree best at 2.
It's absolutely the best with 2.
This game's underrated. I mean, I remember when they reprinted it and it was on Kickstarter again, and I've had a copy since it was new, basically, which is what, like you said, 2009, 2010, somewhere in
Yeah.
there. And I thought, oh man, this thing's on Kickstarter. Everyone wanted this game for so long because it was out of print, and then the Kickstarter I felt like really underperformed.
Yeah.
And I don't know if it's just because they waited way too long.
Well, it had come out with a small European publisher.
Yeah.
They had expensive shipping costs to America.
Yeah,
Right.
oh,
So
that makes
was a big thing.
sense.
Now this originally was picked up by Crash Games. They went out of business when they had this
yeah.
license, and so they reverted back to the designer, and designer found a smaller publisher in Europe to redo it.
I remember that now, and I
And
remember
Crash
being really
Games-
excited when Crash Games got it.
Crash Games was going to make the regular version, and they were going to on the back of the board have an American like an America geography.
Right, a different map. Yeah, I was really excited at the time when Crash Games picked it up because I thought they were gonna. I thought they were a small
were gonna
company.
deluxe it, yeah.
They were going to deluxify it, and I think because they were a small company that they were really excited about having the license
Right,
to
because
this
this
sort
was
of
going to be
beloved
this was going to be their evergreen.
So I felt like they were going to really do good by it. You
Yeah.
know, like they were going to really respect it, and not just like,
Yeah.
oh, here's some version or whatever.
Yeah.
And then that all fell through, unfortunately.
Yeah.
Finca is underrated. I mean, is it the new version now probably just as hard to find? I mean,
Yeah, it's impossible. It's gone out of print already.
It's so
Horrible.
sad.
This game has huge chunky bits. It's great. I don't know. They either need to reprint it or let the rights go back to the designer and let another publisher pick it up who's going to give it a long-term staying power.
This feels like a game that should be in every collection. This is
Collection.
This is such an evergreen for us, my family personally. Like I feel like a year doesn't go by that I don't play it at least once
Yeah.
or twice.
Yeah.
It just always comes out. It's always like hey, we got a short amount of time. We want to play something that's somewhat thinky and somewhat enjoyable. I mean, not somewhat enjoyable, like somewhat complex.
Yeah.
That's gonna just burn the brain a little bit and have something fun to play that has some, just enough meat on the bone. But we just have a short amount of time, and this one's always great.
This one solidifies why I like puzzly games more than, say, quote-unquote, Euro strategy games. I feel like in some of these strategy games and Euro games, you have these tracks that you move up. You push cubes and you go up tracks. And after you've played the game 3 or 4 or 5 times, you've kind of gone down the path of the general strategy. Sure, there's some variance and this and that, but overall you've kind of felt a lot of what the game gives you. Well, with these types of games, these puzzly games, every game feels different because of the puzzle of the rondel, the randomness of when the tiles come up, which tiles you're going to get versus them, the interactions between the players. Oh, you got a bunch of ones with oranges. I am not going to go over there and try to empty this one because that bonus is for orange. It's like every game feels different, and that's why I like puzzly games that are kind of abstracted like this, more than like the standard move up tracks strategy games. I find those to have less staying power for me.
I think this has a good blend of strategy and tactics too, because you can play it a bunch and you know the overarching thing that you're trying to accomplish.
It's not brain surgery.
No, but each time you play it, you have to go about it differently. And so there's always going to be just a little bit of thought and that you have to apply to it in order to accomplish the things you're trying to accomplish. You can't just play it rote.
Right.
You know, and some of these, ironically, some of these heavier games, when you've played them over and over and over again, you're like, well, there's one way to play them, and I just do that every time. And if they don't build in enough random card flips or dice rolls or whatever, you can kind of just do the same thing every time and find one way to win and do it. Finca has an element of that, but like you said, the puzzle of the rondel, when the stuff flips, and the speed element, the fighting for certain bonuses and trying to be as efficient and quick as possible to get them before someone else does. Yeah, this is a great game. And like you said, big chunky bits, mechanics that still hold up and feel innovative 12 years later or whatever. We could go on and on about it. People are going to finally play it and go, really? Well, they're raving about this thing? But I really think you play it a few times.
Well, when I played it last week, I played it with Eagle Griffin Games, and they had never played it but always wanted to. And even they were like, this is amazing. I'm like, He's like, you can't get this. I'm like, no. They're like, oh.
And it's different every time. The setup, just the few little things that are different every time. And if you play with different player counts, it feels like a totally different thing too. You have more or less workers. The wheel, the rondel is crowded or not as crowded or whatever. And anyway, Finca's a great one.
Please reprint this one. If not, let somebody else reprint it.
It's kind of a unique take on like pick up and deliver in a weird way.
Yeah, kind of.
It's rondel and deliver, but I mean it's like I said, I think it still feels kind of innovative 12 years later or whatever
Finca,
it is.
Number 69. Okay, number 68 is a super light 2-player game from their Cosmos line. It's very chessy, but has tons of luck, and is older than both of us.
Oh.
Came out in 1973, actually.
Tally ho?
Woo, baby.
Ooh, that was a deep pull.
Ooh, man, that's a good one.
You liked, I didn't know, I forgot it was that old.
Yeah, it's been reprinted.
Was it called Tally ho then?
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. It's, I love this.
Yeah, it's a spatial puzzle.
This is a chessy game.
Yeah.
There's tons of luck, though. But once you've played the game a lot, you can mitigate that luck with not picking up stupid tiles.
I need to play this more because I know how much you rave about it.
Oh, my gosh.
And I played it a few times. I'm like, yeah, this is solid, but it feels like one of those games because it's kind of abstract.
Very abstract.
You could play it more and more and realize, hey, there's more here than meets the eye.
That's how I feel with it. I've probably played, I don't know how many times. I haven't logged all of them, but more than 40.
Yeah.
Like, it's great because it's a 15-minute game.
Yeah, it's super fast.
But it does have a lot of strategy. There is a lot of luck, too, though. You can have a game that goes sideways, and it's just like, you just got bad luck a bunch.
Because you're randomly flipping stuff. I feel like if I remember right, there's an element of just you flip stuff and you might just be luckily close to the things you need or not. And so there's that element of the initial layout of the tiles is probably the luck you're referring to.
It is, but once you've played the game a lot, you know that luck and you know what could happen. Yeah. And so where you choose to flip is part of the strategy.
I see.
So an inexperienced player would just flip the next tile.
Right.
And it will feel like it's lucky, but it is. But you probably should have let your opponent flip that one. You should have flipped somewhere else.
That makes sense.
Based upon the board. So what I'm saying is, yes, there's still a lot of luck, but you can mitigate that with knowing the game well. And it's very, like I said, chessy. Like there's a lot of times where the board's like that, and you're like, if I go there, they'll go here, and I'll go there. Then you're thinking 5-6 turns in a row. Like it has some depth to it for how easy it is.
Oh man, saying that if they go here, then I go here, then that reminds me of Stratego that I used to play as a kid.
It very much has that aspect of
Yeah.
it, especially because in Stratego you don't know what's there.
Yeah.
And in here you
Yep.
don't know what's there.
So you're timing out, and I loved that about Stratego, and think it's still
I recently played Stratego.
not for the first time.
No.
You played it as a kid like we all did.
Tons.
Yeah.
I recently played it because we talked to my brother who loves the classics. We played it at the cabin, and I didn't like it. I'd rather play this.
Well, I imagine one of the things you don't like about Stratego is all that setup at the beginning too.
I don't think it's that bad.
No, okay. No, but I like that element of timing it out, going, okay, we all move the same way, so I know I have to sort of, and you're not necessarily counting it out, but you kind of innately are able to go, all right, I have just enough time to get here and get back here before they do this or that, and kind of feeling out that spatial timing element of it is cool.
Yeah, and the one thing I really love about this game is like about 3/4 of the way through, your strategy changes, and it's not necessarily trying to take the other player's pieces. It's trying to set yourself up for the exit of the game. So you start like fortifying and starting moving your people towards the exits a little bit, and you start to set yourself up for the end game. There's a lot here for how light this is.
I'm rusty. I don't remember all the elements of it.
Oh my gosh,
okay.
we got to play it.
It's one that I own.
Yeah.
And I have played it, and I did enjoy it, but
again,
yeah.
this one's this high because memorable moments. There's so many times that I can remember, like, this bear was eating everybody, and finally they flipped over the guy that had the gun right in his face. And we're just like, yes, finally I got you. You know, like
safe.
Crazy stuff like that happens, and it creates real memorable moments.
That's cool. I'm glad that I think more so than a lot of content creators, I'm glad that you're shedding a light on obscure, smaller things like this that don't ever get talked about anywhere else. So even though it's not something I've necessarily put on my top 100.
There's a reason why it's so old and still being printed.
Yeah,
right.
That
tells you something.
Yeah, and I'm glad that you're putting.
There's good games that have
radar.
come out recently that don't get reprinted.
No, the
fact that this one still is being reprinted tells you it's
happens
got
all
something.
the time. Games come out and crash and burn. Yeah.
And for it to be 73 and still hold up, we've
That's
talked about
crazy.
Sid Saxon games.
Yeah.
We've talked about Acquire. We've talked about old games still
Old
holding
Kinesia
weight.
Games. Yeah.
It still holds weight.
Interesting. I forgot it was that old. That is an interesting wrinkle on this one for sure.
Tally ho, 68. Number 67 is a game, another Spiel des Jahres. Actually, I think this one won. Last time, in one of the previous videos we talked about a couple weeks ago, we talked about games that I have a love-hate relationship with and games that I've gotten rid of and then got. This is one of those, but now that I think about it, there's probably 2 or 3 others that that are on this list that I still got rid of, and I got them back.
So when you mentioned, it was Pinata last time.
Yes.
Right? And
good memory.
Yeah.
You must be playing Memoir.
You mentioned it and said there were some others, and I was so curious. I'm glad one's coming up.
Well, here's one of them, and it won the Spiel des Jahres.
Really?
Yeah. In recent years, maybe in the last 4 years, 4 or 5 years.
That won the SDJ that you got rid of.
Yeah, it's a racing game. A betting racing game.
Oh, Camel Up.
Yeah.
Or Camel Cup.
Second edition.
Now, do you like this? Okay, I shouldn't ask this because it might, but do you like this more or less than Downforce?
Oh, that's a nice, funny question, Greg. You think you're going to get that out of me? No, I'm not going to give it to you. I'm not taking that bait. You think you're so... Check out the big brain on Greg.
I just wanted to know. I mean, like, I understand you're not going to answer because...
I'll spoil it. But Downforce isn't on the list.
Okay.
I love it, and it just missed the top 100.
Okay.
And I'll tell you why I like this one better.
Yeah, because I've been playing Downforce more lately.
Downforce is down. I will tell you why I like this better.
Please.
It plays better with bigger groups.
Right.
Specifically the second edition, because the second edition comes with the expansion cards that when you're playing with 6 or more players, you can handshake and bet with somebody that already made a bet. So it makes the game, like, turn order doesn't matter. You don't get screwed if there's more players. Plus it has the pop-up thing, the tree in the middle, but they've added a couple of things from the expansion that make this game better. Memorable moments. I was talking about last week how I was playing this one game where this orange camel was in like dead last almost the entire game, and I bet on it, and it came all the way back and won. And like,
nice.
Speaking about luck, this game has luck. So the reason why this game was like I said, it was one that I love-hate relationship with. It won the Spiel des Jahres. It was one of the few that I hadn't played before, and I was at Gen Con. I played it with Z Garcia from the Dice Tower and a bunch of other people, and we all played it that night twice, right in a row, and we all scratched our heads and went, this won the Spiel des Jahres? This just seems so random and so weird.
So how did it win you back?
Well, I played it more and more later.
Yeah.
Even during my review of it, the original one, I was like, it's okay. I've been liking it more as I played it more. I give it a 7.
Yeah.
Then the second edition came out.
Clearly not a 7 anymore for
No,
you.
this is at least an 8, maybe 8.5.
I think I haven't played the second edition.
This is my family game of the
either.
year 2 years ago when it got reprinted.
Okay.
Because this second edition fixed a lot of things I didn't like about the game.
Yeah.
And this game, I just see it go over so well.
Yeah.
Because of how fun it is, the way that the camels work, the way they stack.
Yeah.
And the fact that, yes, there's luck. You're going to roll dice. A certain die is going to come out. But you can look at the state of the board. You can look at which dice have come out, which ones have not come out. And you could go, okay, if this green comes out and then blue comes out, this one, because of the way the camels work and take each other over, this one's going to be in first. But if this one comes out first, then this won't be in first, and no one's bet on that yet. So there's actually way more thinking.
More of a puzzly element, which
you can play it straight. I'm just going to bet. I don't know probabilities. I don't care. I just want to have fun. So those players that just want to bet and have fun can have fun. But those that want to look at the state of the board, puzzle out the probabilities, puzzle out the amount of things, it's there.
Yeah, that's
and so the more and more I've played this, and the more and more I've played it with more people, I haven't seen it go over bad.
And it's funny because you review games, this game got a new chance with you.
Yes, this one got a new chance for me because
because I think if you were just Joe Schmo gamer and you'd played it with Z and whoever else you played it with at that con, you would have been like, yeah, this one's not for me.
Yeah.
But because you felt like, oh, I need to review this one. This is one that's getting some buzz. You played it enough more for it to kind of win you over.
Yeah.
And so it's interesting how it went from, like you said, like, this is
out of the
for me,
collection. I reviewed it. It got a 7. It was out of the collection.
To in the top 100. I mean, you've probably played 2,000 games in the last 7 or 8 years.
This is my go-to sort of racing / betting game.
Interesting.
And the reason why I like it better than Downforce is Downforce, even though I really love Downforce.
Yeah, I do too.
It's in Target now, by the way. And there's lots of maps. You'd think, I found that game to be much more player count dependent.
And that's part of the reason I ask is because...
Now, granted, you wouldn't want to play this with 2. With 3, it's pretty good. 4 and up. So this is better with bigger groups. 4 to 8.
So
but there's a wider range.
Yes.
I don't think
Downforce feels like it should be like 3 players.
Right.
And that's almost like the optimal... Because I played
4 is good
maybe
too.
Maybe 4.
But
I played it at 6 recently, and I don't know if I'd ever played it at 6. And I was
like, has 2 good player counts. This has 4 good player counts.
It's almost like Downforce when you have the smaller group, and then Camel Up from there.
That's absolutely right.
So own both, depending on how many people are there.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah, I know, for sure. Absolutely.
Interesting. Okay, cool. I need to play the new one too. I don't know if I've ever played the new one. I think I've only played the old version. I played it
production-wise. Oh, and the new one added these crazy camels that go backwards, and they add another twist. Because they go backwards, and they might end up getting on top of somebody, which changes things, right? Or actually, no, underneath somebody, and then they might pull them in the wrong direction. So anyway, Camel Up, it's revitalized, and one that I loved, I hated, and then, well, not hated, but enough to get rid of. It came back in, and now it's number 67.
I didn't realize there was a time you didn't have it at all.
It was my family game of the year 2 years ago when it came back in print.
Wow. Okay, cool.
Because this second edition is so much better.
Are any of the other love-hate ones coming up on this 10?
No, I think most of them are like way high.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
Okay.
So we'll talk about that. 67, Camel Up. Number 66 is a word-based team party game.
Not trap words.
No, this one is kind of obscure, but one of the main reasons it's on this wall, it's a great game, first of all. Second of all, it was my mom's favorite game.
The street.
Yes.
Yeah, I thought of it, but I forgot it was a team game. I was thinking of it as as like a 2-player game.
That's another reason why this game is on this list. Fantastic 2-player.
Yeah.
Great 3-player, 4-player, 5, all 10, 12. It doesn't matter how many people you have, this game worked great. And it was my mom's favorite game, and I remember her playing this in the hospital when she was really sick.
Oh, yeah.
And having her thumbs up, while she's playing it. I remember her playing it solo. There was a solo variant online where you actually take some Scrabble tiles and you do certain things with it. Oh. So I made her the solo variant, and she was playing it while she was getting treatments, and she loved this game. And for that reason alone, it would make this list.
I didn't realize,
but it's that good.
I didn't realize there was a way to play it solo.
It's an unofficial. It's an unofficial. Someone on BGG came up with a variant.
But that's cool that someone did that.
And actually, when I did the review of this new version, and I talked about my mom and it, actually the designer contacted me, and we were talking about it. It was pretty cool. He was so excited that this made a difference in her life. And yeah, another reason why this is great. So, how many party games play 2 well, but big groups well?
Yeah.
Really, really well.
Yeah.
And it's kind of weird because I have a lot of word party games on here. I'm actually not really good with words in word games. I'm an engineering mathematician.
Yeah.
And the reason why I like this is sometimes with word games, you're trying to come up with a word in Scrabble or anything.
Yeah.
And there's just a vast abyss of possibilities. And that overwhelms me. With this, you might have a C and an L on your side, almost off the street, and the other team might have a P and a T. So when the category comes up that's like name a vegetable, and you have to spell it out to pull the letters off, you now have focus. Let me think about a vegetable that has these letters or these letters
instead
or
of
both
just
of these
wide
letters.
open, it could be anything.
And that focus is what makes me love this game.
It pulls you in. That's a good point.
It's so clever. Now, there is a rule in the rule book that you never want to play with, and it says the other team can yell and shout and try to get you to guess things. It is the worst rule in any game ever. Just don't play with that rule.
Just disregard.
Let the team be quiet and let them talk out 30 seconds of a word.
They want them to like yell at you, distract you.
Yes, it's the worst rule in any rule book. Just don't play with it. Other than that, if you don't play with that,
did you tell the designer that when you guys talked?
Well, I did it on the review, so I'm sure you did. But do you have this one? Have you played it?
I do have this one.
Really?
I think I found it at like a thrift store or something, and because you had talked about it.
Have you played it?
Once or twice.
Which is a great question to ask, by the way. It shouldn't be, do you own it? It should be, do you own it and do you play it?
Sadly, there's too many games I own that I haven't played.
Yeah.
But no, this one is one I played, but it's been a while. But I think because of you raving about it, when I saw it, it jumped out at me at Goodwill or wherever I got it, versus just blending in with all the 10,000 copies of Seen It and everything else that's usually there. I was like, oh, this is actually supposed to be good, and I grabbed it. And I remember liking it as well.
You should try it with Stephanie. Try it 2-player.
I think that's the way I've played it.
Oh, you have? Okay.
I feel like I've played it with you, and I feel like I played it with her after I got it, because I was like, oh, he said this was good. But it's been a long time.
I don't even know if this was on in print anymore. I know it's come out with
How
multiple
old is this,
puzzles.
do you know? I mean, this might be 10 years old or 30 years old. It's
probably
hard to
more.
tell.
I want to say it's. I think it came out 2012ish, maybe.
Yeah, maybe like 10, 12 years old.
Yeah.
Okay.
It's still good though. Word on the street, 66. Number 65 is not necessarily a love-hate relationship like some of the other games we talked about.
Okay.
But it is one that I had an early look at and an early possibility to be the first to review this game that ended up being nominated for the Spiel des Jahres, and most people thought it was going to win. And I looked at the game and I went, this looks incredibly boring. No, I'm not really interested in reviewing this. And then it got nominated for the Spiel des Jahres. I ended up playing it later and going, oh my gosh, this game's amazing.
So you thought it looked bad before you'd played it?
Yes.
Whatever it is.
It just looked boring. And even to this day, if I sit down with this game and I show it to you, you're going to be like, oh, the art's kind of cool. And I will tell you how the game plays. You're going to look at it and go, this doesn't look like fun. That's almost the reaction I get every time. It's the same reaction I had.
You can't judge a game by its cover, young man.
Well, this was actually by more than the cover. This was by
everything.
You can't judge the game by the game. No. This one actually was nominated the same year that we just talked about Camel Up. It lost to Camel Up, and everyone thought this was going to win.
Oh, shoot.
This is the best entry-level engine building game out there that you've played a gazillion times, and even your mom has beat you at it recently.
What? Oh, wait. Oh, my gosh.
Poker chips. Gems.
Splendor. Oh, that's right.
How did you not get this?
In my brain, Splendor won.
That and everyone else's brains except the committee.
I think
Splendor
I
won.
forgot it didn't win because you're right. It was such a shoo-in.
I think it was Camel Up this lost too.
I'd have to double check. I don't remember.
If not, it was
because I thought of Splendor, but I'm like, no. Splendor
if not,
won.
it was that. I'm pretty sure it was Camel Up. If it wasn't, it was the one with the.
Okay, this is
Colt
interesting
Express.
that you bring this up right after Word on the Street, because soon after my dad died, and my mom and dad used to play this all the time.
Oh, that's crazy. These are back to back.
Yeah, it is a little crazy. So they used to play this all the time. They loved it. I've taught them a lot of games over the years, and they really got me into gaming when I was young. But then I've sort of reintroduced them to newer modern games. And Splendor was one that just really clicked for them, and they played it all the time. And soon after he died, she was like, "Would you play Splendor with me?" Kind of like she was like craving it again, and it was just felt like such like an honor in a weird way to like sit in his shoes and play it with her, and kind of be the first one to play it with her again.
Did she beat you?
No, well...
I remember you calling me and telling you that she beat you.
I think she almost beat me.
Okay.
Maybe she did. That wasn't the important part. The important part was like sharing that moment or whatever. But it is ironic that you put these two
But I remember
back
you
to
being
back.
surprised at how well she played.
Oh,
and you're like, they must have been playing this a lot.
I was like, they've gotten good at this game. Yeah, absolutely. And that's really fun to see because Splendor is one I've played so much. You're right. I've played it tons and tons and tons. And so sometimes when I play it with someone, I just kind of mop the floor with them. So to play it with someone who's a challenge is, not to like brag or whatever. I'm sure there's plenty of people who are better than me at Splendor. But to play it with someone who's like a real challenge is such a treat with this game.
Yeah.
Because this game's only fun if it's close. I mean, not only fun, but it's especially fun when it's close. If you're just mopping the floor with someone, then it's like, oh, okay. But it's the tightness. It's the fact that every turn you have to do the most efficient move or else you're out of luck. You're hosed.
Yeah.
And I think that's what makes this game stand the test of time and still be acclaimed and beloved and all that is because it's such an efficiency puzzle and you have to be so efficient each time and be able to change on a dime if you don't get the things you need or if the chips aren't available when you need them. And it has almost, you talked about thinking multiple turns ahead in some other game you were talking about, Tally Ho, I think.
Yeah.
This has that so much.
Oh my gosh, yeah.
You have to go, I've got the chips I need for the next turn, and I kind of know what I'll do after that. But what am I going to do after that? Is there anything I can do to plan for that move?
And then the jerk reserves that card.
Yes. And then,
which
it forces you to think more
I've
tactically.
learned the hard way is not the best move because it's a very inefficient move.
You don't want to reserve unless you absolutely have to reserve. There you go. Pro tip, people. I love Splendor. This is definitely a top 100
Yeah,
game for
I
me
ate
as
crow
well.
at this one because, again, I turned down probably a gazillion views of being the first one to review this. And this has actually changed the way I review games now because...
Tell me more.
This has... I never want to feel another Splendor, meaning I never want to turn down the ability to be on the early side of reviewing something. Yeah. And it's made me play games that I normally wouldn't have because it makes me go, you know what?
Maybe Splendor this is another Splendor.
Splendor didn't look fun either.
Yeah.
Let me try this. So it's actually made me play... In negative ways, it's actually probably made me play things that I knew I was going to like, I didn't like. But I know, and I can't remember.
Do you feel like there's been another game, another Splendor for you since then as a result of this one?
I don't think to the magnitude of like it was that popular.
Yeah.
But I certainly, I can't remember off the top of my head, but I know for a fact that there's been games that I gave a shot to that I normally wouldn't have. Yeah. But with this in the back of my mind, I gave it a shot and I liked it. I can't remember off the top of my head, but I know that feeling's been there.
Do you think a lot of it was the theme? The very generic, like, we're just trading gems or whatever?
Yeah, it just...
Like, if the first version of Splendor was Marvel Splendor.
No, well,
would you have been like, oh, this is cool, like,
Well, you're
okay, you're not a big comic book guy, but...
No, I think it's like, okay, it sounded like the epitome of a Euro game.
Yeah, just...
Get this to turn this into that, to turn this into that to get points. I'm like, snooze fest, right?
Yeah.
Like, it doesn't sound great.
When you change cubes into different color cubes.
That's all you're doing.
Turn them in for
points. It doesn't
points.
sound good, but it's so engaging.
It's like a perfect design.
It's so good.
Splendor deserves its sort of acclaim in the game world.
Yeah.
Even though it's dirt light.
Everything is Splendor.
Everything is
Splendor.
Where did that start?
I think Dukes of Dice, my friends did that, where like every game
podcast.
essentially is Splendor.
Yeah, but yet so few pack in as much goodness into such a short, efficient package. Yeah. And then the expansion stuff is cool too.
Yeah, 3 of the 4 were great. The Stronghold one was awful.
Yeah, is that the buildings? Yeah, you're right. That was probably my least favorite. Yeah. But it breathes a little bit of new life into it. It makes it
Marvel
interesting
Splendor's
again.
cool too. I mean, it has a different little twist.
Yeah, Splendors are great. I'm actually, you want me to debunk things? Kind of surprised it's this low.
Whoa, you thought it'd be higher.
I mean, I didn't think that up front, but now that I see it at 65, this feels like it should be a top 50 game.
Yeah, I can't say I would disagree with you.
I'm going to give you a hard time now for every game after it that's not as good as Splendor.
You're not going to
bring up.
I guarantee you're not going to give me hard on the next one because I see what's coming.
All right,
next.
let's see. Let's move on.
65 Splendor. So 65 was Splendor. We were talking about Spiel des Jahres.
Yeah, Camel Up Concept and Splendor. In my head, Splendor totally won that year.
Yeah, and everybody's.
Yeah. And obviously you like it a little bit more than Camel Up as well.
Yeah, apparently. That's funny.
All right, so what's next?
Number 64. You said that every game has to be better than Splendor, and I know that you're going to think this one's better than Splendor.
These games better be better, yeah. You've got 64 games you have to convince me are better than Splendor.
I'm sure there's, in your opinion, it's not. But this one will. This is one of the best filler auction games in the history of Earth.
Not for sale.
with a theme that doesn't matter. It has a little bit of push your luck aspect to
Already
it.
said QE.
And it's been this designer's best design. That's what he's known for.
Oh man, the best auction.
It's a game from Yellow. Has a religious theme.
Oh, Biblios. Okay. I don't know yet, but these will fight it out for me. I think Splendor might be a little higher just because I played it like...
Wow, because I know how much you love this.
Yeah, but I've played Splendor like 100 plus times probably. Biblios I played a lot as well. Here's the thing. If you need 3 and up, which Biblios you can technically play with 2, but it kind of feels like 3 or 4 player game to me, then I just don't play it as much.
Oh, yeah.
Most of my gaming is with my
Yeah, that makes
wife.
sense. You need 3 with this.
Yeah.
It doesn't work as well.
So I just haven't had as much exposure to it. That said, I've still played it a ton of times, and Biblios is amazing.
Yeah.
This is his best game still. I've played a bunch of his other stuff, but I agree with you.
Yeah.
I don't think you're going to have any other Steve Finn above this on your list. I'd be shocked.
I would be too.
Because this is his best thing, and they keep coming back to it. That proves how good it is. Because they come up with the rolling right and the dice game and all the, and they're all varying degrees of good. But this is the best one still.
Although they did just reprint a new version that's called The King and Me.
So they're retheming this, right?
Yeah. They're retheming it. The artwork looks really
bit.
nice. And the big difference is I've studied the rules. I studied the cards. I actually imported it from Europe recently.
Yeah, I'd love to hear the differences.
And because the copy here isn't coming out for a little while. And the main difference is there's points for second place.
Oh, is that better or not?
I don't know. We're going to have to find out. It's on the shelf right behind us, actually.
Yeah. Okay. I'm eager to try that.
I think it might be good because it's that game.
I kind of like the all or nothing pressure of Biblios, though. The feeling of maybe I better buy this card because I think I have it, but if I'm off by 1, I'm completely hosed. I get nothing for all the work I put into this color.
I don't know.
And so the feeling of like this second place almost feels like participation trophy-ish a little
small,
bit.
Like they start off at 1 point.
Yeah, so maybe if it's like 10 or 1, then it's not a big deal. But I don't know. But it's still got to be between 1 and 6 for first place, right?
Yeah. First place still works the same way.
So if you bring it down to 2 or 3, and then second place is 1.
Second place is always half of the first place.
Huh, interesting. I really want to try that because that'd be interesting to see how it makes it feel different.
I do too.
Because they keep tweaking it, and nothing quite measures up to the original for me so far.
But no, this
so I'll be
literally
curious to see if this version
It really
does.
is just Biblios with that little scoring difference.
I'm pretty much otherwise exactly the same.
It is exactly the same.
Okay, well,
but this is one of those.
If you guys haven't played Biblios, you have to play this. It's one of the best fillers ever.
Yeah, it is.
Yeah,
it's amazing. Biblios number 64. Number 63 is a beautiful tableau building card game where you're trying to make paths. And you only score those paths if you have the right cards in your hand at the end of the game.
Arboretum.
Man.
Arboretum's good.
I feel bad because the one time that I played this with you, we played with 4 players, and that is the worst player count in this game. This, to me, is a 2-player only game.
I've played it other times as well.
Oh, have you played it 2-player?
Yeah. No, well, I don't know if I ever played 2-player, but I've played it several times.
For me, this is 2-player only. The game does not shine with 3 or 4 players.
One of the things you can do is just draw a card off the top, right? Or there's some element of just sort of like I can't do anything else and grab a card. And I remember playing this and just sort of relying on that kind of like bad default move. And then I won the whole thing. And the people I was playing with, one of them was like a huge fan of it. And he was like, I've never seen anyone win that way before. And he was kind of like, this game isn't supposed to work. And I thought, did I just break this? I think I just got super lucky that time.
The thing I love about this,
I need to play it more again.
Much like Lost Cities.
Okay.
The hardest decision you have in Lost Cities is which card to discard.
Yeah.
You've got a hand.
Yeah.
You've got a plan for
what
every
you make
card
available
in
to
there.
everyone else.
This game, maybe even more so, the excruciating decision of which card to discard because you're giving it to your opponent. And another one where you're putting a card there, and you could get that card again on your next turn, possibly.
If it's still,
If it's still there. Much like Lost Cities. I'm going to put a card in the middle. I'm going to go do something else. Oh, something else happened. I'm going to grab that back. This has so
like
many...
temporary storage.
It is.
That you hope no one breaks into and steals.
And that is probably the best part of this game. And not to mention the...
I'm rusty on this one, so I don't remember exactly how it all plays out. But
for a 2-player card game, this is the best.
I probably haven't played it at 2. I've probably played it mostly at 3 or 4.
And that's all I'll play it. Because if I have 3 players and I want to play something like this, you play Zany Penguins, which is by Bruno Cathala, and that is...
Wait, is this a teaser of things to come?
That is Arboretum in reverse.
Okay.
Which is, instead of scoring cards in your hand, at the end of the game.
Right.
It's the opposite.
Yeah.
Where you score the points in your hand, but only based on what you have.
Based on what you have in front of you. Yeah. That's right.
And so that game's kind of like this in reverse for 3 players, but this 2-player game only. If you haven't played it, I want you to play this with Stephanie 2-player.
Yeah,
I think you.
I've always enjoyed it, but it wasn't something that was like. It hasn't like it didn't like shine. It didn't like break away from the pack. You know what I mean? It was just like, okay, this is good.
Even at 2?
Well, like I said, I don't know if I've played it at 2.
That's the thing. So that's why I really want you to try it with 2 because I feel the same way you do on a 3 or 4-player game.
Yeah, interesting.
This is a weird game where it's like, this is a 1-player count game for me, but because it is so good, because it reminds me so much of Lost Cities, that's why it's this high.
That element of what you leave out for people to grab.
It might even be more painful in this game than Lost Cities.
That reminds me of Ethnos, too. I don't know if you like Ethnos,
but
that element of, as you're creating the sets, you're like, oh no, what am I giving everyone
Spoiler,
else?
Ethnos was one of the really tough decisions
102?
That didn't quite. It was right, or it was like probably 105 or close. It was right up there.
I just recently replayed it again, and I was like, oh, this game is so good.
Yeah. So
and
this one you got to play with 2.
Criminally undersupported.
I want you to play this with Stephanie over the weekend.
Yeah, I want to play it.
Arboretum, 63.
Because I'm rusty on it.
Number 62 is a social deduction game. Did it also use things that we talked about in Avalon? No, actually, this one did some pretty different things that I love.
I'm expecting a lot of social deduction games still.
I like social deduction. So do you.
We both love that genre. We've played it a lot with a lot of the people we game with. And if you have Avalon where you have it, then I'm like, well, there's got to be another like 3 or 4 at least
by the way,
that I can
Avalon,
think of.
last time I did this list, I think was like in the top 10 or 20 of my games.
Yeah.
And because I had played it
but that was years and years ago.
7 years ago.
Yeah, and so many have come out since then.
And because I played it so much, it's kind of like lost its steam.
Burned out on
I burned out. This one, there's so many ways I can get you to guess this.
I mean, I could rattle off a whole bunch.
Yeah, I'll give it to you. It's a drafting game.
Oh, New Salem.
Yeah.
Oh, interesting. Okay.
We recently played this.
Yes,
all
we did.
of us.
I think I
at
won.
the cabin.
I'm pretty sure.
You did.
I'm pretty sure I won.
You're a jerk, and I even tried to make you lose at the end.
You guys thought I was bad and the funny thing is, okay, you already talked about how this works, so I don't have to go over all that.
In the other video, of course. If you haven't seen that
yes.
one, you want how it works. In the description, look at that video.
But I did this little test where I gave you the ability to really hose the group. But like you could steal a card from me, and if you took it, it would have made a set that would have really hit us hard as a group. But I thought, oh, what a great opportunity to test out Dan to see if he's good or not. If he jumps at this, we know he's bad. We have like perfect information in a game where it's really hard to get perfect information. And they were all like, what are you doing? He could take that card. Did you even see that? It's so suspicious.
And then I didn't do the bad thing with it. I passed it on, and they still thought you were bad.
You were good.
I was good. In fact,
I was like, look, we proved it now. We can trust him. Isn't that great in a game like this that we know we can trust him? And I thought they'd be like, oh, good, we can trust you too. And they were suspicious of me the whole rest of the game.
Here's the reason why
and
this
I
game
was
is
good,
great.
but I won anyway.
Here's the reason why this game is amazing. And what it did a little differently than most others is, especially at the lower player counts, there's not a lot of games that can play good with lower player counts of social deduction. This is one of them. Not only does it play good with 4, it actually really also plays good with 3. And that's because you're never sure how many bad guys there are. And very rarely, you could actually all be good. And that's what happened in this 4-player. We played a 4-player game. And there was only like a 25% chance that all 4 of us would have been good, maybe even less. And all 4 of us were good. But you have this paranoia because most likely at least one of us was bad. And so they thought you were it. But it ended up turning out that we were all good.
Yeah.
And he ended up winning because in this game, only the good or the bad team, one of the teams is eligible to win.
Right.
But from that team, only one will win.
So
you have like this thing, you're trying to be the one to win, but if you do it too much, your team won't have the chance to win. It was such an interesting twist.
So this is that idea is a game. It's an idea for 15 years probably that I thought, oh, I'd love to see a game that does this well. And I remember when. And this will be sacrilege to a lot of people, but I remember when Dead of Winter was going to be coming out, and I heard that element was in there. This idea that everyone could be good, but you're still suspicious of people.
Yeah.
But it still felt too just cooperative. 9 times out of 10, it just feels like you're playing cooperative. And if someone does something a little weird, you go, okay, he's got some weird objective or whatever. I don't actually think he's bad. This game, on the other hand, does it right. Does that element right. Because you really do suspect. Like you said, you can do the odds or roughly estimate the odds and go, Well, he must be bad then. Someone has to be bad. And then the fact that no one is such a long shot that it screws with the way you play the whole time you play it.
But it makes it work with small player counts, which is another reason why it's this high in the
Yeah,
list.
I don't think I've played with just 3. That's cool to hear that it does that.
The only other social deduction game that works with 3 and actually works pretty well is 1 Week Ultimate Werewolf.
Yeah.
But I like this better.
I think this one's a better game, though.
Yes.
But all the other ones, I'm like going through all the ones in my head, nothing else works at 3. It's always at least 4, and most of them kind of don't work quite as well at 4, but sort of do.
Yeah.
But typically you think 5 when you think social deduction.
Sure. Yeah.
So that's really cool that it plays well at 3.
And the other one that works well at 4 is Deception Murder Hunt.
Well, an Insider does. There's a few that work at 4, but typically you need 5 for them to really shine.
So well at 4.
It's great at 4.
Didn't feel like it lost anything.
And the fact that it actually works at 3 too is kind of mind blowing. But you're right. The fact that there's that variability in how many traders there can be is the key to it. And I think this one's kind of flown under the radar. So I'm really glad. I'm really glad you're spotlighting.
By the way, make sure you get the 2nd edition. It has the Constable expansion. It actually fixed a very major problem that many people have with the 1st edition.
I wonder if that's part of why it didn't hit as well, is because there was
the first time there was some problems,
some issues,
and they fixed it with the way that.
I hope this is available enough that some people watching can grab this.
I think it is. It's awesome.
It is pretty slick.
New Salem, number 62. Number 61 is a light to medium Euro game that you and I were introduced to at BGG Con. I don't remember which year. It was many years ago.
Probably same 5 year to 7 years ago.
I think it was the same year that Game of 49. I was the flag bearer for that game. We met and played it with the designer.
Oh, yeah. Royals.
Oh, man.
Yeah. Peter Haas.
Peter Haas. Underrated designer.
Absolutely. Francis Drake.
Yes. Classic Terror.
And Royals. And I'm sure there's some others I'm not thinking of off the top of my head.
Yep.
But yeah, definitely an underrated designer. This one has the cool puzzle pieces.
Yes, that was cool.
I mean, there's other things that are better about it, but that little gimmick alone was something that I thought was
oddly
really
enough,
cute and
I actually
clever.
kept the 1st edition instead of the 2nd edition.
I only have the. I mean, I think you.
I bought it for you.
Yeah, it was like a Christmas present.
Yeah,
because
I had to import it from Europe.
Yeah, because at the time, it was like brand new.
Yeah, it wasn't out here yet.
Yeah. And so because I had that one, I never even really considered getting the new version because I'm like,
the new one looks amazing in so many ways, but the board is too busy and it's harder to actually, for functionality reasons, it's actually harder to see things.
I mean, it's still perfectly playable.
Oh yeah,
I mean, you wouldn't tell people not to get it. No,
especially since the 2nd edition is probably the only one available. Get the game. It's great.
Yeah.
But the only reason why I kept the 1st edition, the artwork was way blander. It didn't look as nice.
Yeah.
But it actually made for ease of seeing where the cubes were and who owns what. Yeah. A little easier to see.
By the way, this is has an element sort of of area control.
This is area
majorities,
right?
Yeah. And it works at 2. And once again, that's rare for that genre. Blue Lagoon is one we mentioned. It does. But this one does as well. And there aren't too many that do. And so even though it's a Euro, it's a mean, aggressive, stab your opponent in the back.
It's got sort of Ticket to Ride style card play.
Yeah.
You set collection, but you're also using those cards to kill someone.
Yes, if you get the right sets, it's like, sorry,
you see them pull
you're not the king anymore.
You see them pull the red intrigue card, you go, and they're going to kill the King of England. I know it's coming.
This is one I really need to play again. We played it a lot when it first came out.
I actually haven't played this in a long time.
It's been a few years for me as well, but it's definitely one that has a soft spot in my heart because we did get to learn it from the designer, and I got that early version of it, and we were playing it kind of before everyone else was, and we played it a ton back then, and it works at all player counts really well. I mean, it has a lot going for it. Cool. Royals. I don't know if it's better than Splendor. It's 2 apples and oranges for me. I'll let you have it.
I guess. Royals number 61. All right, folks, that was 70 to 61. Greg actually had probably a little bit more debunking than normal on this list.
And going forward, especially, we got to see if everything going forward is better than Splendor.
Oh, my God. Well, everything is Splendor, so does that make everything tied? And I think as we get closer to the end, it's more polarizing, right? Because every 10, it's like, really? It's that high? Really? It's that high? So I think we'll maybe have some more.
Well, I think, when you're telling me you're 19, I'll be like, really? Is your 19th favorite of all time? I think because the rankings are higher. Like when they're low, you kind of go, okay, that's cool. That's a good game.
Although, you know my taste so well that I don't know how many things I'm actually going to surprise you on.
Well, I think I'd be surprised if there's, in the top 20 especially, if there's too many surprises. By the way, nothing so far has been in the top 10 that I predicted in my little envelope.
Okay.
Which doesn't shock me.
No, me neither.
But I thought the listeners should, or the viewers should know that. But I think everything I predicted will be at least in your top 20, and I don't think there will be too many surprises in your top 20.
I don't think so either.
I don't think you're going to come out, left field with some random thing.
Yeah, because
near the top.
I mean, how often? If
we talk about games all the time.
If either of us play a game that we even are excited about, we go crazy and show each other and play it.
Yeah.
And if it's that good, usually we both really like it. And if it's top 10, 20 material, it's pretty obvious.
Although I do think we diverge. I mean, I think that there's stuff in your top 10 or 20 that aren't even close to contenders for top 100 for me.
But you...
Like games I actually don't like.
But you understand why I like them.
I understand why you like them.
Right, that's what I mean.
But I play them and go, what, really? Like, it's just not for me at all.
Those will be the really fun ones to talk about.
Yes. So there's a couple I can think of right now that I'm like, why? Why do you like this so much? But everything you've mentioned so far, I think I haven't played it enough to have a strong opinion on it, or I've enjoyed it. But yeah. I'm curious about Avalon versus New Salem, though. I keep thinking about that, turning that over my head. I don't know which one I like more.
New Salem has definitely more mechanisms.
I appreciate the wider player count. I mean, that's got it going for it.
I think if you're looking for a very streamlined experience, you look at Avalon, right?
Yeah.
And not that New Salem's hard, but you've got drafting going on, right? So you could teach Avalon to someone who hasn't played board games before. Right, because it's that simple. Where you're not going to have, hey, you got these icons and you're going to draft. That's more of a gamer's game.
You're creating a little panorama and all that. Yeah,
it's not hard.
It definitely fleshes out.
If you're teaching gamers, it'll be easy to teach that. But
that makes me wonder, what's the heaviest social deduction game?
Probably Battlestar Galactica.
Yeah, well, that's true. I think of that as almost like a separate genre, but it is. You're right. That's probably, or Dead of Winter. Those two are up there.
I
guess I would say those are more hidden trader games.
Yeah, true.
I almost feel like I have them separate in my head.
And they're all kind of the same thing.
But they're all definitely the same idea of trying to sniff out someone who's not what they seem. Anyway, I am derailing your outro.
No, this is good. It's like bonus material.
There you go. There you go.
So 70-61. Next week, I'm going to be doing 60 to 51. And then a few days after that, we'll be doing this again for that. So thanks so much for joining. If you haven't subscribed yet, don't miss any of these. Go ahead and subscribe, hit that bell. This has been the Game Boy Geek.
Greg Dixon, thanks for watching.
We'll see you next time.
Game Toppers not only transforms your existing table to a high-quality gaming solution, they now offer full leg kits and dining cover solutions for the full table application. Paired with their amazing, thematic, premium stitch edge mats from noted board game artists like Vincent Dutray, collapsible cup holders, and really cool accessories, it's a complete system that upgrades every game you play. Go to GameToppersLLC.com or click the link below.